Today's exercise is on the element of color. In the sequence of visual perception, the brain reads color after it registers a shape and before it reads content. So it's very impactful and very expressive. I'm sure you all have favorite colors you like to work with. But when you're working with a client, this takes on new meaning. So you have to be aware of what the connotations are for certain colors. If you read the blog that I've posted for you from Entrepreneur Magazine, it talks about different colors and their meanings. When you work internationally, colors can still have even different meanings than what we have in the United States to be associated with a color. So there's all different perceptions of color that we're going to explore a little bit. Some tools to help you use color. On the lower right is the color wheel. The color wheel was invented in 1666 by Sir Isaac Newton. And we're still using it today. They're selling them in art supply stores. You should pick one up to have in your toolkit, to have in your personal, weaponry for graphic design. They're not real expensive. They're like around $15 or lower. Depending on what size you get, you can get a tiny one, which is like $5 to $8. But what you do is you can spin that outer wheel around and it comes up with color combinations for you. Pantone is something you should be aware of. The Pantone matching system, which is that series of swatches that I have fanned out for you on the page. These are inks that you can use to select for your logo design when accuracy is really required, across geographic locations. So that requires a fifth plate. Usually processed colors are cyan, yellow, magenta, and black. So Pantone color is a fifth plate because it's one solid color. It doesn't mix with the other colors, but you're ensured consistency. So that's what the Pantone colors do. Itoya is also another brand of inks that are used in the graphic design industry. Pantone, however, has a foundation which studies trends in color. So they look at trends and release a report. They release a color of the year. I have links on this video that you can write down and you can access. But the color of the year this year is like a purplish color. It's like a really pretty kind of a Delft blue purple. And they give you an explanation why they chose it. They look at trends and they choose a color that they think is important for the upcoming year. With this handout, we're going to look at basic color theory. I'm sure you're all aware that there are 3 basic colors, red, yellow, and blue, and they're equal distance on the color wheel. We also have secondary colors, green, purple, and orange. And then we have the tertiary colors, yellow, orange, red, purple, blue, green, and yellow, green. Our assignment today is going to work just with the primary and secondary colors, but we're going to talk a little bit more about color theory before we get into the assignment. When you talk about colors, you can use the adjectives cool and warm. Warm colors are on the upper right-hand side going down the right-hand side of the color wheel. We've got that springy green goes into yellow, the oranges, the reds, and then the light purple. The cool colors go into the purples, the blues, and the greens. The warm colors tend to be more expansive and tend to expand, and the cool colors tend to recede. If you add white to a color or to a hue, you're creating a tint. Okay, so different percentages of white can make different colors. And then when you add different percentages of black to a hue or a color, you create a shade. Now, here we're getting into the color harmonies. Complementary colors are opposite each other on the color wheel. As they're very high contrast, creates a vibrant look for your work, especially when it's used at full saturation. It's got to be managed so it's not so jarring. So usually you probably want to use one color more dominant than the other. Analogous are very peaceful color combinations. They're right next to each other on the color wheel. Make sure you have enough contrast so you can differentiate between the colors. Once again, you want one color to dominate, so it's not so overwhelming. The triadic color schemes. So you take a triangle and you put it on the wheel, and you see these colors are sort of equal distance from each other. That creates a very fun combination. But one color, once again, should dominate. Same with the split complementary. When you don't want to go full on, complementary can tend to be vibrating, which you don't really want in your compositions unless it works for the design. But the split complementary are the colors on either side of the complementary plus complementary. And once again, you want one color to dominate. The rectangle or tetradic color scheme puts a rectangle on the color wheel. And once again, you use one of these colors dominant so it doesn't become overwhelming. Same with the square. So those are just a few approaches for color. When you're working with color, it's important to notice that contrast can be challenging. So as a beginner or someone who's beginning to work with type on objects and other objects on different color fields, you want to make sure the contrast, you've got that down. So you're going to have to work with that. In the video that we saw on color, which is still posted to Moodle, so you can go back and look at it, it talks about if you're having problems with contrast, add white or black to the background color, and that should help you. That's a solution for it. Okay, so now to our assignment. What you want to do is we're going to work with the primary and the secondary colors on the color wheel. You want to grab 5 articles in your house and create a composition that you're going to take a picture of. These are 2 examples of previous students' work. I really like the way Abigail Regis, which is the first one, she used the white space. So she created a kind of a fun border. She encapsulated her stuff. So she worked with the shape. And then Amelia Hall decided to solve the problem before she even started. She decided that books would come in all different colors. So she decided to limit to books and then chose the colors from her book library collection. So that's 2 different approaches. So what you need to do is for the primary and secondary colors, choose 5 articles for each color and create a color wheel picture. Then take a photograph of it and upload to Moodle and to the Facebook group. So we can discuss questions in class. That is the end of today's presentation.